Me now with more on the growing conflict, retired Lieutenant General, United States Army, and co-chairman of the Center for American Security at the America First Policy Institute, and former National Security Advisor, Keith Kellogg. General, when we look at what's going on in the Middle East, we were used to peace for 4 years. Now with Biden, it seems like we just keep hearing of attacks every day.
Yeah, well, first of all, Natalie, thanks for having me today. I appreciate it. Look, they just hit targets over the weekend, the United States did. And to be very honest, right at the start, I never have any problem when anybody defends American interests, despite which administration it is. But let's talk about the real big question, what's happening right now, and that's the question of what is our policy towards Iran. The attacks that occurred over the weekend went against KSS and KH, Kataib Hezbollah, which are Iranian proxy groups that are operating under the control of, right now, General Ghani of the Quds Force. And we attacked those forces, the same forces, in 2019, late December, and which they then responded by attacking our embassy, and then we responded by killing Soleimani and also Abu Muhandis, who was the leader of the PMC, or the Iranian proxy forces in Iraq. Here's the concern I have got. When you start doing this right now, when you start attacking these forces, what is going to be the response of the Iranians coming forward? The Iranians have a new president, Raisi, who's a real hardliner. He's much more of a hardliner than we've seen in many years coming out of Iran. So the question I've got to the Biden administration now is going to be simply, okay, if they start attacking us, what is your response going to be? We super accelerated. When we attacked Soleimani and Mohandas, that was a clear escalation, a large escalation from just going tit for tat on bombing. And so now that they've started to do this, here, the question I've got to them is, what's going to be your response? I think what they're trying to do is, I believe they're trying to influence, the Biden administration, the JCPOA, what we call the JPOA, the talks on Iran nuclear capability, that are trying to be restarted, which I think, by the way, is a mistake. Those are the talks we pulled out of in 2018. Right. So I think part of the question's got to be to the Biden administration, okay, what is your game plan? Why did you do this? And what is the end state going forward?
Because they've been talking to Iran for the last 4 years. John Kerry was going behind your all's back. Of course, we all knew about it. So he was doing these negotiations, really setting up Iran to be in the place where they are now, to have that power where we could enter that deal and give them a lot of things they didn't even have before.
Yeah, I think they're making a big mistake. Here's the mistake I think the Biden administration is making right now is they're trying to walk back what we did with Iran. We pushed them very hard. We put sanctions on them. We wanted to make sure they did not have a nuclear capability. That was our whole issue. When we pulled out of JPOA in 2018, it was to ensure that they did not develop a nuclear capability, so we would have a nuclear Middle East. You'd have the Israelis with a nuclear weapon, the Iranians with a nuclear weapon, then you'd have the Saudis with a nuclear weapon. And you don't know where that's going to stop in the Middle East. So that was our whole thought process behind it. And I think what they're doing is they're taking their foot off the gas pedal by trying to pull back from the sanctions. I think it's a huge mistake. Now they've compounded that with an attack on KSS and KH. So the next step is going to be, what are they going to do? And then what's our response going to be? They're kind of walking themselves down a very bad path right now.
There was so much talk about what was President Trump's foreign policy plan, but it was simple. It was America first. If they attack us, we hit back 10 times harder. And people knew that. Our enemies knew that. And our allies knew that. With Biden, we already see these wars starting up again where we were used to peace for so long. It's unbelievable, and it makes us realize really how much good work President Trump was doing and you all were doing to keep us safe. Thank you for keeping track of the situation. I know things are probably going to be escalating, which is really sad to see, but hopefully they'll start listening to the real generals like you that actually know what's going on in the ground. God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Natalie. Appreciate it.